Once again, welcome back to the program. ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਸੈਗਮੈਂਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਡੀਨ ਡਰਾਈਸਡੇਲ ਨਾਲ। ਇਹ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਨੋਮੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਲਈ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਹਨ ਕਲੋਵਰਡੇਲ ਲੈਂਗਲੀ ਤੋਂ। ਇਸ ਰਾਈਡਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰਾ ਇੰਟਰਸਟ ਦਿਖਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਇਸੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਣੇ ਆ ਡੀਨ ਡਰਾਈਸਡੇਲ ਤੋਂ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਕਿਉਂ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਰਾਈਟ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਚੁਣਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ। Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So Dean, a little bit about yourself. What is your background and what prompted you to think of jumping into this race?
Well, I grew up in Langley. I went to Langley Senior Secondary and local colleges and universities. Went away for some other education, but ended up back here teaching as a professor of business management at Kwantlen. I also run a number of businesses on the side and have had a lifelong interest in politics, joined the Conservative Party in 1976 and have been active on and on in the party ever since. Served 6 years on Langley Township Council about a decade ago.
Right. So finally now you have decided to jump into this nomination race for the riding. Now if you could let us know, by interacting with the people and also you have been living over here, what are the challenges, what are the issues which these people are facing over here?
Well, I think that the challenges that face us as a country are really economic. I think we need small government, low taxes, and a balanced budget. We've got those today in comparison with most of our competitors. You know, as a young man, I never thought I would say that tax rates are a reason to stay in Canada and not move to the United States, but today that's true. And so I think we're on the right track, but we need to maintain the pressure on those things. I think locally, if you ask most people on the street, the biggest issue here today is crime. That seems to be the top of mind issue when you talk to people.
Right. And when you say, let's talk a little bit about nationally about what your government has done so far. So when you say low taxes, stable economy, just take us a little bit into details as to what your government has provided, which the people are benefiting from.
Well, I think it's as much a philosophical thing as anything. You know, we Conservatives don't believe that governments can solve every problem, and so we don't think that every problem needs a government solution.
Right.
And so we're not always looking for that, whereas the other parties seem to be inclined to want to solve every problem with government money. We Conservatives recognize that every solution with government money comes out of somebody's pocket, probably yours and mine, and that we have things we should be doing with our money ourselves. And I think we as Conservatives just believe that most people will spend their money better than the government will spend it for them.
Right.
And so it's a philosophical difference between us and the other parties. And you know, there's many things the government has done in keeping with that.
Right.
But I think that's the main difference, is the philosophy.
So this philosophical difference, what you're talking, which exists between your party and the other parties, but let's talk in practical terms, how this philosophy has been incorporated into practice by our government in the past few years.
Well, the fact that we're now on the verge of a balanced budget again, I think is very significant. We did as a government decide that a deficit was necessary to get us through the recession.
Right.
And I think that was the right move. But we're on the verge of a balanced budget again, and if you compare that to our other partners in the G8, that's quite remarkable. Our debt to GDP ratio keeps falling. The trend is down, which means that our children, when they're paying their taxes will be providing services for them. That money won't be going to pay the interest on the debt of the services we receive today. And I think that's a fundamental Conservative belief, is that we should leave the country in a better shape for our children when we found it, not leave them burdened with our debts.
And also, Dean, what we are finding out is that the demographics are changing in Canada. Different needs of different cultures, different people coming over here. But of late, what we are finding is that some of the policies which have been introduced by this government, and especially when it comes to immigration or when it comes to finances, no doubt the Conservative approach is being adopted, whereby the government wants to bring in a balanced budget. But on the other hand, the services which are being cut, people are talking about that also. Now, you being a professor in business, and you have, as you said, you run a few businesses also apart from teaching. What do you feel? How can this be tackled? Because ultimately, as you very rightly said, the money has to come from our pockets. The government doesn't have any extra source of income whereby they're just going to pump in the money. It has to come from our pockets. So what do you believe as a teacher of economics that what needs to be done? Is this policy which is being adopted by the government, can this lead to better results in the future?
I think so. And, you know, as politicians, we always focus on the problems. And I think sometimes it's really handy to stop and focus on what we're doing right.
Right.
And, you know, as I travel the world, I've never seen another country that integrates immigrants as well as we do. You know, if you go to many countries in Europe, you know, there's the people that were there 500 years ago, and there's the new people, and it's two worlds, and they never talk. They don't go to the same schools. They don't. They aren't able to create they aren't able to create a national culture.
Right.
And you know, one of the things I think we have to celebrate about Canada is that people come here and they're accepted.
Right.
Our kids all go to the same schools.
Right.
They go to the same universities. They have the same job opportunities.
Right.
And it's one of the things that always astonishes me as a professor is just how quickly people become Canadian.
Right.
You know, I've got kids in my classes who have only been here for 5 years. But you know, they got good English language training.
Right.
Their English is just fine. You know, kids of different religions and different colors are all sitting together with each other.
Right.
You know, two kids that went to the same high school who might be, you know, different races.
Right.
They know each other, and they're sitting in the back,
right,
you know, laughing at the same jokes and you know, leaving the class together because they're friends because they know each other. And you know, I think we as a society have to celebrate what we're doing right, which is that everybody gets to be a Canadian as soon as they get here.
Absolutely.
And you know, it's not like some other countries where people are sort of held in an underclass for generations.
Right.
And so, you know, there's more we have to do. You know, we're not finished yet.
You talk about crime, about the local issue. That's a major, you know, challenge which the people are talking about. Now, how do you feel? What can be done to tackle this crime? Because ultimately, what we are finding is that on the streets there are many people who are facing mental health issues. Then, of course, the crime rate, the theft, break-ins, they are increasing. So people are worried that in a developed country like Canada, you know, this should not happen. So what is your perspective? How can this be tackled?
Well, this is one of those challenges that we struggle with because, of course, the federal government and the provincial government and the local governments and, of course, local communities and individuals all have a role to play.
Right.
There's some things that the federal government's done that I'm very much in favor of. You may recall a few years ago there was a fellow in Toronto, somebody came into his store and stole something, and the shopkeeper captured him and then restrained him until the police were there. And then the police arrested the shopkeeper.
Yeah.
And I think all of us in Canada were astonished by this.
Right.
And the government very quickly came in and said, no, Canadians have a right to protect themselves and their property.
Right.
And I think that's the kind of tone that this government has set. You know, there's many things that they've done, but I think it's the tone that says this government is on the side of the law-abiding citizen, and not the criminal. And so
the message is clear. That's what you are saying.
Everybody knows which side this government's on.
Right.
And there's many small things that they've done. Another one that was done just recently by the local MP next door, Mark Warawa, that impressed me a lot, is they made it so that a sex offender who has committed a crime against somebody in his neighborhood can't come home and live in that house if the victim doesn't want them there.
Right.
And what a, you know, it's such an elementary thing.
Absolutely.
But you know, the schoolgirl who is victimized gets to live in the same house in the same neighborhood with her friends, and the guy who did it has to leave town, not her.
Absolutely.
And it's a small thing, but it sends the right message. It lets Canada know whose side we're on.
Right. And finally, Dean, there are a number of candidates who have come forward for this nomination race. Why should the people vote for Dean Drysdale? What is special in you?
Well, I'd start from the fact that people should select one of us and vote Conservative because we're all good people. You know, I know all of the other 5 fellows in the race, and I like them all.
Right.
They all bring a perspective that I think the party needs. And you know, I think the party would do well with any of these candidates.
Right.
Obviously, I want the job, and you know, I'm putting myself forward because I think I've got a background that is suitable, and I have a passion for the job.
Right.
But I welcome all those candidates in the race, and I hope they bring all their supporters. And I hope we have a very successful nomination with thousands of Conservatives signed up, and I hope I end up, you know, on the top on the final ballot. But if one of them do, that'll be fine too. Any of them would be a good
Wonderful.
MP.
You have got a wonderful thought, because that's what it is. It's the party which matters, as you say, not an individual, but definitely all individuals have their own perspectives which they're bringing forward.
Absolutely.
Right. Thank you very much and best wishes.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Appreciate
Thank
your time.
ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਜੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਡੀਨ ਰਾਈਸਡੇਲ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਨੋਮੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਅੱਗੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਪਾਲਿਸੀਜ਼ ਲਿਆਂਦੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ ਇਕਨੋਮੀ, ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਨੂੰ ਟੈਕਲ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਸਹੀ ਪਾਲਿਸੀਜ਼ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਿ ਸੁਰੱਖਿਆ ਲੋਕ ਜੋ ਮੰਗ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਸਟੇਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਇਹੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਫਿਲਾਸਫੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ। ਉਹ ਇਹ ਬਿਲੀਵ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਨੂੰ ਟੈਕਲ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਏ ਥ੍ਰੈਡ ਬੇਅਰ ਉਸੇ ਸਮੇਂ, ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਸਿਰਫ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਜਾਣ, ਪਰ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਪੈਸਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਹਰ ਕੰਮ ਪੈਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਣਾ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਉਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਪਾਲਿਸੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੰਪਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ, ਇਸ ਦਾ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਹੈ। ਰਿਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਪਾਲਿਸੀਜ਼ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਉਸ ਕਾਰਨ ਦੇਸ਼ ਸਟਰੋਂਗ ਰਿਹਾ। ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਫਾਈਨਲੀ ਅਖੀਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਉਂ ਚੁਣਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ, ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਵੱਖਰੇ 5 ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟਸ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਪਰਸਪੈਕਟਿਵ ਲਿਆਉਣਾ, ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਚਾਹਾਂਗਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਬਣਾ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਜੇਕਰ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣਦਾ, ਪਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਤਾਦਾਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਨੋਮੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਈਨ ਅਪ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਇੱਕ ਮਜ਼ਬੂਤ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਨੂੰ ਚੁਣਨਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਸਹੀ ਰਿਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਰ ਸਕੇ।